Shalom, my brothers, my sisters, my family. Shalom. This is day by day reflections and thoughts to Yashar'al, a nation of believers. My name is Symmanayah, and if you're tuning in for the first time, you will come to know that Yashar'al, of whom I mentioned, represents the banner of nations, made one by Yahushua, our Mashiach, our Messiah. Yashar'al, the people of the Almighty Yahuwah, those who seek to worship and obey the Almighty Creator, our Father, and accept Yahushua as our Mashiach, our Messiah. These messages are addressed to you, for it is you that I consider my brothers, my sisters, my family. With that said, today is October 22nd, 2013. And I want to address the matter that has been pressed upon me this day. So this subject will be entitled, When Millions Flee, Chaos Erupts. When millions flee, chaos erupts. Are we waiting on the masses? Are we waiting to see a majority of people scrambling to run and flee from one destination to the next before we as a body of believers begin to understand that we are being prepared for a gathering like never before witnessed on the planet? Who has the expertise to move among millions in the midst of hysteria and chaos? My brothers and sisters, have you given thought as to what would people flee from in any circumstances? I encourage you to begin asking questions. Seek out answers with a ready mind to respond to the voice of our Mashiach, Yahushua, who will speak to us in spirit, in or through one another. Failure to develop a ready mind to worship and obey the Most High Father will result in a display of unbelief and rebellion. This is defined as wickedness. I have seen too many brothers and sisters choose soft words to mask the description of evil and wickedness. It does not remove the judgment of the action or the behavior because we choose soft words. Remember, when Kepha approached the Mashiach and he was rebuked, Matthew 16:23, Mark 8:33, and Luke 4:8. Each gives an account of such. Matthew 16:23, Mark 8:33, and Luke 4:8. I'll read one of them. Mark 8:33 says, And turning around and seeing his taught ones, he rebuked Kepha, saying, Get thee behind me, Satan, for your thoughts are not those of Elohim, but those of men. So you see, my brothers and sisters, there weren't any soft words used to rebuke Kepha, our brother, who we know from reading the scriptures is indeed our brother, one who sought to worship and obey the Almighty Father and accept Yahushua as Mashiach. Back to the subject of what would make people flee. A need for fresh air. If the air in any area becomes unbearable, people will flee. Yes, what we discover in many times, the poor are unable to flee as quickly as those with wealth and means. Needless to say, they will flee. How many people you think are avoiding some of the cities in China or in the UK where the pollution levels are so high? Those who are aware of it. Do we see people running to these areas? And could the fresh air become a challenge as we increase pollution and as global warming emerge? Another reason why people might flee. They may flee in search of water and food. If fresh water and food become scarce, if delivery trucks cannot make it or have no desire to make it to your location, what do you think will happen? People will rush towards getting food. And if they decide that, if they determine that there is no food reaching a certain region that is large, you will have millions fleeing an area that is becoming uninhabitable, an area where the water or the fresh air or there's no food. A desire to be in a safe place. Consider the Fukushima nuclear plant or Fukushima prefecture, where high doses of radiation have exposed many, hundreds of thousands, and that it has spread. Radioactivity has spread into the Pacific Ocean. What happens when things become so bad that the masses started running and fleeing from? It would be chaos, my brothers and sisters. There will be a desire to be in a safe place when chaos erupts. A ravaging storm could cause people to want to flee. Earthquakes erupting, an outbreak of diseases, a demonstration of massive people running away or towards another direction can influence others to want to run, could create mass hysteria, and chaos would erupt. Waking up and realizing that scriptures are being fulfilled could cause a domino effect if we wait till everyone begin to accept that these are indeed end-time prophecies being fulfilled. Escaping unbelief and hearing the voice of the Spirit of Yahushua. In other words, coming away from unbelief, we could have massive believers. Some who understand the true name, some who do not. But massive individuals who seek to live and who are seeking life can wake up all of a sudden, and many run towards where they think is a safe place. Yes, there are many catastrophic, unscheduled events, unexpected circumstances that can occur, as well as we should be mindful of the fallout of what's to come. Take a moment to picture what happens in the days of Noah and Lot. Okay, wait a minute. Let me read some scriptures first. Matthew 24:37-39 reads as follows. And as the days of Noah, so also shall the coming of the Son of Adam be. For as they were in the days of the flood, before the flood, eating and drinking, marrying and given into marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark. Matthew 24:39, and they did not know until the flood came and took them all away, so also shall the coming of the Son of Adam be. What side will we be on? Will we be on the side of those who understand the guidance, the living guidance from our Father? The living guidance provided through the set-apart Spirit He sent in Yahushua's name? Or will we be as those who were left out of the ark and met a different fate, a different end? Luke 17:26-30 reads, and as it came to be in the days of Noah, so also shall it be in the days of the Son of Adam. They were eating, they were drinking, they were marrying, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah went into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. And likewise, as it came to be in the days of Lot, they were eating, they were drinking, they were buying, they were selling, they were planting, they were building. But on the day Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and sulfur from heaven and destroyed all. It shall be the same in the day of the Son, when the Son of Adam is revealed. My brothers and sisters, discernment is a powerful thing. It is when the Spirit of Yahushua reveals, open up, uncover, and provides what is necessary for us to see clearly and hear. With this said, come, take a trip back to the days of Noah. It was a time when it had never rained before. It was a time when the grounds were watered by the dew of the midst of the earth. Consider Genesis 2nd chapter, 5th and 6th verse. Now no shrub of the fields was yet on the earth, and no plant on the field had yet sprang up. For Yahuwah Elohim had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no man to till the ground. But the mist went up from the earth and watered the entire surface of the ground. And as we read and study, you'll find that it had never rained before the flood. The ground was still fed moisture from the midst that went up from the earth. Now take a moment to allow the Spirit of Yahushua to provide images of someone building a huge boat in the middle of dry ground. Consider conversations regarding what is being built and why. Do you honestly believe that man was so caught up in their own wickedness that no one noticed what Noah was doing? I submit to you, Noah probably faced ridicule, criticism, and a host of other unpleasant ramblings from people. Now consider what people probably was doing as the rains began to fall. Many probably were so amazed it was like a rush, a high, to witness such an event, until the water started getting deep. I submit to you, some probably dismissed what was really occurring until the water was over their heads and close. There were some who probably began to fear what was happening but tried to hide from the destruction. There were probably false teachers and wicked leaders who dismissed it and said, this too will pass. Yes, my brothers and sisters, many probably began to fight over anything that could float, probably even betrayed one another as well as killed one another over a piece of wood, a raft, a boat. Did the actions of the wicked and their unbelief stop the great flood? Do you believe the great flood happened? Was it real? Hindsight did not, nor will it ever help those who are ever destroyed by the wrath of the Most High Father, Yahuwah. I won't go into the story of Lot for the sake of time, but I do want to point out one specific passage about Lot's story. Genesis 19:14 reads as follows, and Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-laws who had married his daughters and said, get up, get out of this place, for Yahuwah is going to destroy the city. But his son-in-laws he seemed to be as one joking. That was Genesis 19:14. This specific verse gets omitted oftentimes in the story of Lot. In the discussions about Sodom and Gomorrah, many omit the fact that his son-in-law thought he was joking. Even though they thought he was joking, disregarded his words, destruction fell later and they was destroyed. So it did not stop what was to come or what took place. My brothers and sisters, now let's move on into what's occurring during our times. I produced a recording entitled Like a Scroll, People Will Gather just recently. With that said, let's revisit some things I mentioned. I mentioned that following massive famine, food shortages, and drought, fresh water shortages, pestilence, and disease, I mentioned that following that, these conditions will come chaos, violence, civil unrest, turmoil, and much, much more in these last days. Yes, in these end times. Have we ever asked ourselves what tools or chain of events will occur to bring about the disruptions in our lives that we will witness as famine, drought, pestilence, and disease? What methods will we witness the Most High use to execute his wrath in response to man's wickedness? Recently, my brothers and sisters, since I posted the recording regarding people being gathered like a scroll, I came across an alarming article. It was about a fisherman's experience on the Pacific Ocean. It appears he believed the Pacific Ocean is partially dead. Yes, dead, my brothers and sisters. It was an alarming article, and it caused me to give pause and begin researching to see if there were any other articles related to his assessment. To my alarm, my brothers and sisters, there were. Now, most of them reference the Pacific Ocean more than other seas. If it become obvious, very obvious, that the Pacific Ocean is indeed deadly, dying, or dead, what type of fallout do you think will occur? And don't forget, in the wake or in this discussion of the Pacific Ocean, in my research of the articles, there were articles talking about global warming, and it was discussing the acidity level of the ocean, which was making it unbearable for some sea life. And if it was to increase, it would be at risk of killing most of the sea life in the Pacific Ocean. This was due to global warming. In addition to this, my brothers and sisters, don't forget Fukushima nuclear plant. Fukushima nuclear plant. This is a nuclear plant in Japan that faced some catastrophic experiences in March 11th of 2011. I believe it was March 11th. I know it was the year, March 2011. And ever since the earthquake and tsunami that occurred in Japan over 2.5 years ago, there has been radioactive waste leaking into the Pacific Ocean. Hundreds of tons, contaminants, extremely large, massive amounts of radioactive waste have been poured into the Pacific Ocean. Conditions will soon accelerate the death of the Pacific Ocean to the point where it will be most difficult to mask or hide from the masses or the mass population what is really occurring. I am compelled to believe there will come a time when millions, yes, millions of people will begin to flee. Currently, I believe the media is managing the conditions so that the ultra-wealthy can milk as much from their real estate investments, along with other commercialized methods for generating wealth, before it becomes widely known to leave the area of the west coast of the U.S. Currently, I believe the media is managing this. I am compelled to believe, like I stated in the previous video, that the inhabitants of Earth will gradually begin to discover parts of the planet that will become uninhabitable, and it will end up with most of those who are alive in the region we know as the Middle East in these last days. Pray and watch. It will be a gradual process. I invite you to look at a map of the planet and begin to research areas that are in or pose a threat of becoming uninhabitable. Remember, the most critical things we need is fresh air, fresh water, and food to survive by any natural means. I am aware that man does not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Almighty Father Yahuwah. But I am also aware of scriptures that inform me and us to be mindful of the signs of the times and not be overtaken by what is to come. Back to planet Earth. Recent studies have revealed that in some areas in China as well as the United Kingdom, not to mention other areas, fresh air is a very challenging thing to find. Yes, pollution levels are extremely high. In some cases, the air quality affecting the mortality rate is drastically increasing. The pollution level is drastically increasing. The rate in which people live is decreasing. It's alarming. In other words, people aren't living as long because they're in an area where the pollution levels are very high. These areas are becoming rapidly uninhabitable. They are unequivocally unattractive. If you take a moment, you will discover that near Australia, sea levels are rising and the acidity level of the Pacific Ocean is reducing the world's largest rainforest as well in South America. Acidity levels in the Pacific Ocean is a result or results in the amount of oxygen in the sea. Thus, being removed will cause much death in sea life. Now consider South America, how one of the world's largest rainforests and rivers are being destroyed and or drying up gradually. Parts of South America borders the Pacific Ocean, an ocean that is dying, moving right along. In the United States, parts of the U.S., which too have borders at the Pacific Ocean, with Hawaii completely surrounded by the Pacific Ocean, will face the damaging effects from a dying ocean. To add more alarming news, fresh water in many of the western states in the U.S. is becoming a huge challenge as a result of drought and overpopulation. Fresh water is also becoming a challenge in the South. Consider Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. Yes, Florida. 3 states battling over the use of fresh water and access to fresh water. These things are happening as I present. As I compiled this presentation, there are many articles that confirm these words. Also consider fracking or fracturing. This is a process where toxic chemicals are being mixed with water and used for drilling regarding natural gas exploration. Currently in the West and throughout the United States, greed has caused a rapid explosion of companies drilling for natural gas using this fracturing process, this fracking method. Yes, it's called fracking, my brothers and sisters. What becomes at risk is that many of these fracking sites result in toxic chemicals reaching fresh water sources, contaminating our fresh water. Remember, if fresh water is unavailable, an area can quickly become uninhabitable. My brothers and sisters, I can go on and on about these matters, but let me bring this segment to a close. Bear with me. I will say again, as I mentioned in previous recording, I am compelled to believe that the Spirit of Yahushua has revealed to me, just as man began in the Garden of Eden and spread out across the globe like an opening scroll, so will it be in the last days and times, as a scroll beginning to roll up. Let me share 2 verses with you. Isaiah 34:4 reads, "And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled up together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off the vine, and a falling fig tree from the fig tree." You see, this is not defining that those who are in heaven will be dissolved or that they would fall. What this is saying, my brothers and sisters, and keep in mind the original Hebrew was pictures and symbols, so we must seek, it would be wise to seek the Spirit of Yahushua to make alive what Isaiah 34:4 is saying. What is it saying? It's the title. The office of being a host to a scroll would no longer be necessary. If you study scripture, you will come to see that a lot of things that exist now will not be necessary once we are with our Mashiach, once we are before him and see him as he is. So a lot of these specified duties will no longer be necessary. This is what it's saying. It is not defining the destruction of heaven or the fall of the righteous. Revelation 6:14 reads, "And heaven departed like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place." Could Revelation 6:14 describe what I said I believe the Most High had revealed to me? And if you look around at the conditions of the planet and what is occurring, many of us are familiar that in the last days the final battle will be somewhere in the Middle East region. While we don't really know where the Garden of Eden was, I'm compelled to believe it was somewhere within that Middle East region or northeastern Africa. Keep in mind, the word Middle East was not the descriptions used during ancient days. If you are able to receive what is unfolding before our eyes, consider that the Most High Father has an established plan that he's executing, a plan that was crafted and created long before these conditions began. Living instructions and guidance is emerging, but who will believe? Who will discern what is righteous, what must be done? Again, are we waiting for millions to flee and then try to squeeze and get in between and navigate around chaos? Those who wait for the masses or large groups trying to flee any area at one time will face millions on top of millions trying to get somewhere, anywhere away from uninhabitable places. Many will be frantically moving about, not really knowing what must be done, who to listen to, which direction to go. Are we waiting to see such an event before we take notice? Or are we seeking to improve in our worship, in our pursuit of getting to know the voice of the living Savior? When millions flee, chaos will erupt. People betraying one another, a rise in crime, civil unrest, murders, extreme turmoil. Is that what we are waiting to see before we take notice and respond to the living instructions from above? Those who wait with the intent of weathering the storm all too often face much regret. Also, keep in mind, it is a terrible thing to tempt the Most High Father, Yahuwah. Scriptures also warn us about what can possibly happen to those who rebel against righteous instructions and guidance. I will continue to state that I am compelled to believe with all my mind, my body, and soul that Yashar'al will be gathered from the four corners of the earth. At least there will be a demonstration of the Almighty Yahuwah's people taken to a safe place before the return of the Mashiach. I will continue to echo that there are and will be a safe place for those who will participate in the fulfillment of prophecies foretold long ago. I will also continue to speak on the matter of strengthening our brothers and sisters who will be staying in place that will face martyrdom. In other words, they will be martyrs. They will be killed for the sake of the reign of Yahushua. Let us lift those who fit that description in prayer. Many are being prepared for such a time. Some unknowingly are being developed. These are troubling times, my brothers and sisters. There are times of becoming humble and witnessing how real Nahum 1:3 is as it pertains to the major challenges that are unfolding. Nahum 1:3 reads as follows: Yahuwah is patient and great in power, but by no means leaves unpunished. Yahuwah has his way in the whirlwind and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. Can we describe the emerging conditions in these last days, these end times, as a storm? He who gets stuck on history and fails to see the relevance of cycles and the possibility of similar events that were told and fulfilled, he who is void of understanding that they could happen again, he who is void of hearing the voice of the living Messiah, the living words, as it relates to what we should be doing today, now, and going forward. To those that are void of hearing and are stuck on history, you will experience something most regrettable if you fail to hear the living instructions from above. Pray and watch, my brothers and sisters. End times have begun. The last days, like never before witnessed, are growing in a sequence of events will only intensify. It will intensify and soon reach a threshold when millions will flee and chaos will erupt. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, choose wisely who you will hear and how you will respond. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, be encouraged. Our Mashiach, our Messiah, is soon to return. Until next time, my family, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom.